Hey YouTube, it's Dave here, and want to give an update on what's going on with my kundalini energies. I just looked at my posting on my last video and realized it had been almost 3 years. So it's about time for an update for sure. So the last time just to refresh on the last video, I had 3 different channels of energy: right side of the spine, left side of the spine, in the middle of the spine, and they were all going up, coming from the root chakra, the perineum area, and feeling like hot, bubbling, boiling pressure kind of energy. And it would generally get congested at the base of my neck, but the 2 channels on the right and left side would travel a bit further and stop here. So ever since then, there's been quite a lot more opening of channels, energy sensations that are moving down definitive channels in other areas of the body. So I just wanted to kind of review that, give an overall view of my thoughts on what's going on. So the side channels, there are 2 side channels that have opened up, and from the root chakra going up. So from this way, it would go up right underneath the arm and then come up, I guess this way is better, side of the neck, side of the ear, to the top of the head, and as it comes up the side of my face, I would feel it through my teeth and up through the top of my teeth. So it's a wide channel, it's a couple centimeters wide, and the same thing happens on the left side. So there's 2 back channels, right side, left side of the spine, 1 middle channel right up the body of the spine, and then there's 2 side channels that have opened up. They also get congested around the base of my neck. 2 front channels have also opened up. So from each, the right and the left side of your pubic symphysis, so your pubic bones, there's 2 channels that come up just right beside your belly button and up beside your sternum, and they go right up and they stop at the base of the neck, and they're also, about that wide each. Then the 2 back channels that have been going up and stopping here now continue on, and they also drop down to the nostrils. And so the front 2 channels and the back 2 channels, right and left of center, connect right at the nostrils, and they form a circuit all the way around. And on the front channels going up side of the body, there's a branch off point sort of around this area, and what happens is the energy gets to about here, and then it branches off, forms a thinner line that goes down the front of the arm, and the same thing, and this happens on both sides, and then the same thing happens right about here on the back of the spine. There seems to be a gathering point where the energy hits, and then it splits right and left, and instead of going down the front of the arm, it goes down the back of the arm, down the tricep and back of the forearm. And I think these 2 lines that go down the arm, they meet to form a loop. And I figured this out one day. I was in the sauna doing a sweat, and my thumb started just sort of uncontrollably twitching like that. And I could feel the energy splitting off from here and going down the arm, and it was twitching the thumb all around, and I just wanted it to stop because it was kind of irritating. So I just started doing this. And once I touched this finger and this finger, I felt 5 distinct shocks in the fingertips that felt like you were being shocked by a battery. And then it stopped, and then it felt like the energy going down the back of the arm went down this finger, and the energy down the front of the arm went down this finger, and when I put them together, that shocking sensation stopped, and then it kind of formed a loop. So it kind of joins the channels, and I know this is a mudra, but I don't know which one. I'm not too familiar with the hand signals, but it was definitely, I tried it with each of the fingers, and it worked definitely best with these fingers. So don't feel that too often, but that has happened, and does happen on occasion. Down the inner thighs towards the feet as well, the energy has started traveling down that way as well. And so there's one really large central pillar or column. It's not on the spine, it's in front of the spine. So sort of a middle channel directly from your perineum to the top middle of your head. And this always seems to be the last channel to open up. So once the spinal channels open up, the side of the body channels and the front of the body, body of the body channels open up. Then and only once in a while, this central sort of column that's, it's about that wide, it's pretty significant. Then the energy will start to travel up through that, and it goes inside, right up the throat, right through the top of the mouth to the top of the head. And when it gets to the tongue, it starts to burn on the tip of the tongue. And what seems to relieve this is if I push the tongue to just behind the teeth to the roof of the mouth. And then the energy keeps traveling and moving from the tongue to the roof of the mouth and then up towards the top of the head. But if I don't do that, the tip of the tongue really just starts to burn and it gets quite hot. So that helps sort of alleviate that. And so the energy has typically been moving very slow, but it's starting to get faster. And the clearer the channels get, the less resistance there is, the quicker and more intense the energetic sensations become. And so in the bottom three chakras, when the energy moves up in a straight line from the root, it hits about my sternum area here, and it feels like there is sort of a pressure that goes back down. And it's not the energy moving back down, it's just the pressure of the energy going back down. And what it feels like is if you were to turn on a hose and you've got the hose spraying water, and if you plug off the end of the hose, there's going to be a pressure buildup inside the hose, and some of that pressure can push the water backwards a little bit. So kind of that sensation. And once that starts to happen, the intensity of the energetic jolts become much stronger, much more pleasurable, but also they cause involuntary body movement. So I'm usually laying on my back when I do the meditation, and my abdominals will start to twist and contract, and sometimes it'll yank me up into like a curl up. My body will be doing this kind of thing, and it's really bizarre because it's not something that I'm consciously doing. It's just the energy hits a spot and it forces your body into a movement. So starting to get these involuntary body movements that are happening when the energy gets really strong. And then I can extrapolate, I guess, as the higher channels get more clear. The same sort of scenarios will start happening higher up into the chest and into the head and the face. So, yay, can't wait for that. Anyway, so there's that, and there's also, so each chakra, the sort of, how do I explain this? There seems to be, I'm not sure how to make the analogy for this, but it seems when the other energy gathers at the root, from that point, it really seems to know which way it has to go. There's either some type of consciousness controlling the energy and saying, go up this channel today, and the next day go up another channel, or there is just some type of inherent feedback mechanism when the energy gathers there, because it's nothing. I can never on a day-to-day basis really know specifically what channels the energy is going to travel up. There's a general theme and pattern of going upwards, but I have no idea what or where or when that energy or where that energy is going to travel. So it knows what it's doing, and I've looked for ways that you can kind of stimulate this and accelerate the process, but I think, at least for my own journey, I don't think forcing the energy up from my ego's point of view, is the right way to do it. And so, as an example, if the energy rises up from the root and it stops in the heart, my mind wants to say, okay, now I got to do something and I got to get that energy moving up all the way to the head, or or it's not correct or something like that. But then, just through watching this process and observing it over and over again, if it goes up to the heart and it stays there, it's because it's supposed to stay there and it's working on something. Excuse me. And so when the energy goes up the spine, it'll hit a spot and it'll just stay there, and it'll sort of burrow into the spine a little bit. And usually after a time, a few hours or even a day or two, sometimes after I felt the energy go up to a spot, I'll feel like a pressure build in that area, and I'll have to sort of kind of move or push my chest out or side bend or, extend back or do something. And when that happens, I'll get a crack or a pop in the spine, a small adjustment, it's not big, and then the energy can travel past. So I don't think forcing or directing or controlling this energy beyond where it is in any given moment is really a wise idea. It seems to really know what it's doing on its own, and whether it's conscious control or just some type of inherent feedback mechanism, I have no idea. But I am trusting it that it's got its own way of handling things that is in my best interest. And so each of the chakras tends to, or is sort of a reservoir point where it holds on to the energy. And so the energy comes up, it can rest either in the root chakra in the perineum, or it can, if it gathers up enough energy there, then it will move up and it can rest at the top of the sacrum, or at sort of your first lumbar vertebrae, or at the heart, the base of the neck, the base of the skull, or the top of the head. So each of these, where each of the chakras is, the energy can go to that point, and it can continue filling that point until it's almost like the cup runs over and there's too much, but instead of the energy spilling over and out, it spills upwards into the next one. There's these reservoir points, which are the chakras, and they just seem to hold on to the energy, and it seems to know when it has enough energy that it builds and expands and it intensifies in that chakra until you feel like this push and this pulse, and then the energy just goes up to the next one, and then it can stay there for whatever time of period it needs to. So there's these reservoir points, which are the chakras, but then there is also one that's different, which is the tip of the tailbone. And so far, the energy that I've been working with through this meditation is sexual energy. So it's the same energy that you would feel if you had an orgasm. And so from the males, it comes from the testicles and goes to the root chakra, and in the females, it would be the ovaries, your reproductive glands. So the energy comes from there and then gathers at the root and then goes up from that point. This energy feels very pleasurable, but it's very hot, it's very bubbly, feels like tar or magma, it's a really, really thick water. It's got a lot of density to it, but it's hot, and it generally has the same sort of sensation. But every once in a while, something happens at the tip of the tailbone, and I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but the sensation that comes from the tip of the tailbone is just electric. It's not like the sexual energy. It feels like a lightning bolt, or you've gotten like voltage going through you, and it's a totally different sensation. So at this point, I'm not sure whether that is, because I know what I've experienced is that sexual energy it can be held at a chakra and moved up to another point at will of the energy. It does seem to gather at the tip of the tailbone, but at this point, I don't know whether the sexual energy is just sort of being held and it's concentrated and sort of being transmuted into another energy, or it's just the same energy that's that's being concentrated into another effect where you have the electrical effect, or if there's actually another reservoir of energy at the tip of the tailbone that has this electric type of energy in it. But it's really a different sensation, and that one has started to happen of its own accord as well. It doesn't happen too often, but that one has started to increase in effect as well. So I think that is about it. So that's kind of a summary of the last couple of years of meditations in a 15-20 minute video. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments below, and thank you for watching.